Hello everyone, Dylan here, and welcome to day 2 of Advent of Code 2025 in Python. If you find this explanation of my solution helpful, please leave a like, and remember that you can find the GitHub link for my code down below, so please take a look. Alright, now let's get into it. So if we take a look at day 2 here, then it seems like we need to visit a gift shop. However, there were some elves that looked like they were playing a prank on the gift shop database, and they have created some invalid product IDs. So we are given a list of ranges, and we have to figure out which values in these ranges are invalid. And it says that the number is invalid if the same sequence is repeated twice. So basically, if the first half of the number is the same as the second half of the number. And we'll get our answer by summing up all of the invalid IDs. So let's go ahead and take a look at the code here. So the first thing that we'll do is go ahead and take a look at our data, which, as you can see, is just one long string of numbers representing ranges. So let's go ahead and parse that. And first, we'll just separate out the different ranges by splitting on the comma. So data is equal to data, and there's only one line, so we'll take 0 dot split on the comma. It's about to type comma there. And then to get each value of the high and the low end of the range, we'll say data is equal to item dot split on the dash for item and data. So we'll basically get a list with the high end and the low end, and then we can return a list turning these into integers. So I'll also make them tuples. Int A, int B for A and B in data. And let's just go ahead and make sure that we parse it out correctly. So in my part 1 solution here, I'll say that ranges is equal to parse data. And then for R in ranges, we will just go ahead and print R. So if we go ahead and give this a little run here, we'll see that we have our ranges here correctly. Fantastic. So I'll just go ahead and clear this and start with our total is equal to 0. And basically what I'm going to just do is for every number in the range, we will turn the number, the int, into a string, cut the string in half, and compare the two sides. So we'll take for A and B in ranges, A and B being the upper and lower bounds of that range. See for A, or for I in range A to B, and we want to include the last number in the range, so B plus 1. Then we'll just say numString will be equal to string of I. And then we want to check if this number has an even number of characters, because if it has an odd number of characters, there's no way that there will be two equal halves, so we can just skip any of those numbers. So if we'll say if the length of the number string mod by 2 is equal to 1, meaning it's odd, we'll just skip it and continue. Otherwise, the index for the halfway, call it half, will be equal to the length of the number string, integer divide 2, and then we'll say if number string from half onward is equal to number string of up to half. So if both sides are the same, that is, then the total will just be plus and equals to I. And then at the very end, we can return our total. And if we give this a run again, then we get this long number. Let's try it out. Okay. Okay, great. We see we get our first star here. So let's continue on to part 2. Okay, so it looks like the clerk discovers that there are still invalid IDs. Maybe there are other silly patterns. So the ID is now valid if there is a repeating sequence of numbers in the whole number, even if it's shorter than half of the length. So for example, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and 2, or 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I see. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at our code. And once again, our ranges will be equal to parsing the data. And I'm thinking what we can do for this, instead of just splitting the number in half, we need to check all possible sizes. So like here we have of size 1 repeating, of size 2 repeating, of size 3 repeating, of size 4 repeating, all the way up until halfway of the number size. So I'm going to split the number into chunks of equal sizes to see if all the chunks match each other. So we'll do that in a function called isInvalid, which should take a num string and it will return a boolean. And for here, we will try different chunk sizes. And like I said, we'll be splitting the number into chunks of equal sizes and seeing if they are all the same as each other. So we'll say for C, for chunk, in range 1, because we want the smallest chunk size to be 1. And let's see, we can do the length of the number string. We only need half, but we want to include that halfway number, so we'll also add 1 onto the end. And first, we need to see if the number of characters in this string is divisible by the chunk size that we're trying to do, because we don't want to take an 8-character string and have it go 3, 3, and 2, because then there's no way it would be equal. We want them all to be the same sizes. So we can just say if not length of number string mod the chunk size C is equal to 0. So if it's not a multiple of C, then we will just continue on to the next chunk size. Otherwise, let's split the number into equal size chunks, and the max chunk size is just half the length of number string. So what will this look like? Let's see, chunks is equal to, and we'll take number string, and let's see, we'll do I plus chunk size. So this will basically take from a starting position and a chunk size number of characters after it. And this will be for I in range. And we want to start at 0. We want to go for the length of the number string. And every time we want to take a size, the size of W. So once we have these chunks, then we will just check if the first chunk is equal to all the other chunks. And we can just use all. If all chunks 0 is equal to chunks I, for I in range, let's see, we'll start at 1 because we already have the 0th chunk here, so we'll start at the chunks 1 over here, and we'll just go for the length of chunks. So if chunk 0 matches all the other chunks, then we can return true. Otherwise, at the end, we'll return false. So now if we go back to our puzzle solution, then once again, our total will just be equal to 0. And for A, B in ranges again, we'll just take for I in range, A to B plus 1, if is invalid, and we'll give that the string of I, then total plus equals to I. And at the very end, we'll return our total again. So if we go ahead and give this a run, I have a syntax error here. One more time. This is actually taking a couple seconds to run. It's a bit slow, but we do get an answer here. And if I submit that, okay, and you can see we've got the correct answer here. So anyway, that has been Advent of Code Day 2 for 2025. Hope you enjoyed and found this helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below, and don't forget to check the code out on GitHub. Thank you. Bye.